Hello, Janksters, and welcome to another edition of the MagicJank podcast, the weekly show where members of Team MagicJank get together and we discuss the latest happenings in the world of Magic the Gathering. My name is Graham. I go by HamHawks42 on the internet, and I'm joined by HollywoodPizza as well as Damien F16 this week. So, Hollywood, how you doing, my friend?
Doing good. Kind of getting back into the rhythm of things. Everything's going really good. Pretty much settled in to the
Heck
new
yeah, man.
house, and yeah, no complaints here.
Yeah,
Nice.
got the new place. I know you've been working hard, and there's never enough hours in the day, but rock on. Glad to hear you're getting settled. That rules, man. And Damien, how about you, my friend?
Busy, always busy. It's Canadian Thanksgiving this weekend, so getting ready for that, but also just streaming. And I did my first charity stream today, and it went really well. People
Let's
came out
go.
and really supported it. So yeah, that was awesome. So going to be doing a 24-hour stream next week or something. We've got to figure it out, but yeah, it's going to be even busier next week, I think.
You'll love to see
How
it.
about
Yeah,
you, man?
support.
How's life?
Oh, hey, you know what? It's going well. I am finally kind of getting over this con crud that I brought back with me from Vegas.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
starting to get to a point where I'm feeling good. And the funny thing is about, like, between streaming and YouTube stuff, I find myself, like, my voice gets tired very quickly when I'm sick. And I'm just like, man, I
Yeah.
can't seem to shake it. It's like, well, maybe if you didn't spend 10 hours a day talking into a microphone, that might help. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, yeah,
my
probably.
voice my voice gets tired even when I'm not sick. I mean, you're doing
Right.
like even Hollywood pizza tournaments, like the Swiss is like just 8 hours of talking nonstop.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I get that.
But anyway,
Yeah, I think that's something
we'll
we,
get
we,
to
we
that.
can all identify with. Absolutely.
We're going to talk about the pizza tournament soon, but we've got
We
more
will.
important things to talk about.
Indeed.
What's
Yeah.
first on the agenda?
Well, the very first thing on the agenda is what we do every time we get started with these podcasts. And I do want to give a huge shout out to MagicJank.com, the namesake of this show, and that makes this possible. It is an online marketplace where you can buy and sell Magic the Gathering products and gear, as well as all the merch from members of Team MagicJank as well. So if that's of interest, definitely check out MagicJank.com. If you've got a collection that you're looking to sell, or if you're looking to pick up Magic singles or sealed products, definitely take a look and yeah, see if we got what you're looking for. MagicJank.com. Again, thank you so much for making it possible. So, interestingly enough, going from that plug, the first topic that I want to talk about is actually something that does relate to the buying and selling of Magic cards, specifically around kind of retailer confidence in the game of Magic itself. So, we got some big news that dropped, I believe just today, maybe just yesterday, but this week for sure. Troll and Toad is actually going to be stepping away from selling Magic the Gathering singles and sealed products. They're actually a merchant that's been on the internet selling Magic for 30 years or so. They've been around for as long as Magic has
Yeah, they're
been
the
out there.
grandparents of online Magic retailing. Like I think without them,
Yeah.
uh, we aren't talking right now.
Right?
Which is kind of
I've
funny,
ordered from them. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I used to
Yeah.
order from them a ton in high school. I definitely stopped ordering from them eventually, but
Yeah.
yeah, like I definitely used to order from them a long time ago, and yeah, it's really weird. Like,
Yeah, it's wild to think
I
about, right?
yeah, I think this one's kind of weird because this isn't something that happened like recently. This isn't something that happened over the last like 2 days since we found out about it. Since everyone, quote unquote, everyone found out about it. That found out about it. It was a little bit of like an older topic, I think, but it was something that wasn't brought to light until some recent like YouTube videos and a few other things from different creators. But I, for one, like I buy Magic cards every day. Over the last 4 days, I've been buying like a ridiculous amount of Magic cards. Like, I mean, ridiculous amount of Magic cards. And I don't know. I know
Well,
for
do you
me,
think?
I don't feel bad about it. Like when I'm buying
Yeah.
cards off somebody, I don't feel bad about it. So
Yeah.
I
Do you
think,
think it's going to be profitable still? That's what
yeah,
they're saying
I
is the main
personally still
reason
think
they
it's going to be
stopped, right?
profitable. I think for them, I think that they haven't made the best decisions that they could make. And I think that that's what has actually burned them in the long run rather than
Okay.
it being
When,
Magic the Gathering.
when you
It is
say they,
not,
you mean Troll and Toad, the merchant themselves.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily, this isn't, everyone's looking at this like it's Magic the Gathering's fault, but I think people that maybe know a little bit more understand that it's more about like how Troll and Toad maybe specifically was dealing with Magic the Gathering, and I think that that's not something that a lot of people are talking about because the number
Well,
one
hold on,
thing
hold on.
that
Elaborate. What do you mean by that? Because I'm not sure what you mean exactly. Like I
I don't
see what
want to
the guy
like
said, right?
I don't want to
Hold on. Before
make
you
any
say anything,
accusations, but
yeah, yeah,
um
yeah.
But,
Wait. Let's talk about the official statement here. So the
yeah, let's
official
lay some
statement
groundwork.
from Troll and Toad is Ben Burns, the guy who runs the show over there, said the decision to stop selling the singles and the sealed product and everything was based on a number of things, of course, but the big one, the primary one, was that selling Magic was not as profitable as it used to be. And selling other stuff was better. Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, One Piece, those TCGs had better margins. They're more profitable. Another reason, of course, is the reprints and the variants and all that. So that's the official reason. Are you saying there's like is there
yeah,
something else
there's
at play
more.
here?
There's
Okay,
definitely
so what do you
more.
mean?
So I'm not gonna say any details specifically about anything specific, but let's just
Okay.
say you end up spending a few $1 million on a weekend on Magic the Gathering cards as a business. I
Hmm.
think that that is like a bad decision that has actually like financially like crippled them, right? Because let's say that on average I'm spending, let's say I personally buy about $6,000 worth of cards a week, right?
Jeez.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
buying about $6,000 worth of cards a week, like realistically, right? Like today I bought
Okay.
probably like $3,000 or $4,000 worth of cards just today. So
In
it
order
could,
to resell and
And,
yeah,
and
so
this
you're
right,
is,
buying
you know,
stock.
right.
Yeah.
we're
This
working
is
at
like
a local game
this is me
store.
being pretty
This is
transparent here, in all
doing
honesty.
the
Yeah.
business. Yeah, yeah.
But
Okay.
Okay.
this is me kind of giving you some insight.
Yep.
But for them, it was more like we're gonna buy everything, even if it's something that we can't get rid of, right? Because like, let's say that you spend, let's say we're spending a few $1,000s on cards. Those
Mhm.
cards are going to move though, right? Especially if they're cards that are worth however much money. They're all cards that move, constantly circulating, all cards
Hmm.
people play, right?
Right.
Guaranteed, right? Cards that are over, let's say cards $4 to $5 and up. So those cards guaranteed to be played, right? They actually have a real, little bit more of like a real value than let's say like a $3 card, just because like at the end of the day, whenever you do all of your orders, let's say through like a TCG player or anything that's like that after shipping and everything else, you're making like 15 cents to like, a few dollars in your regular
Right.
transactions, right? So you're not really making all that much. But
Mhm.
let's say that you end up burning yourself because you end up doing too many of those 15-cent transactions. Let's say that
Sure.
the 15-cent transactions are important because they help your business grow by making other people buy more cards at your business. Just by you having certain commons and uncommons in stock, it's more likely meaning that a Magic player is going to buy their whole deck from you, right?
Right.
Mhm.
So let's say that you're okay in understanding all this. You end up buying some cards every once in a while and keep your stock growing. But the
Hmm.
problem is that let's say that instead of you just doing that normally, you actually buy 10 times of what you would normally buy. So
Right.
how are you going to get rid of that?
Sure.
Well,
Where
I
is that going, right?
I
So then
presume they
now you
were
end up
selling
with,
more, right? Their volume of sales is just way
but
higher than like a shop like yours
it's
or
not going to be justifiable if you're still spending 10 times what you are
true.
trying to
Well,
sell.
Okay.
Because
with
then
Interesting.
this is where it ends up being as like a business, right? As like a business, one of the things that protects you as a store is that your stock never goes bad. The
Hmm.
cards, unless they get moldy or something in the basement or they get water damage, right? Something happens to the cards, something happens to your comics, something happens to your action figure things. Like, unless something physically happens to that product, then it's not going to get damaged. It's not going to go bad. So you don't really lose anything when you have a really huge inventory. The problem
Well,
is when you actually have like 15 warehouses. I'm just using that as like an example. Let's say you
right,
have like
right.
20 warehouses worth of product, and let's say you're only moving like 1.5 warehouses worth of
Yeah.
product every month.
Okay.
So then now you actually have all this stock that's sitting there, and then now you have to take that, and then you have to take the loss by maybe you selling it to another person that's exactly like you, who's going to undercut you, who's just going to essentially, give you like, what the buy list
Okay.
price
Yeah.
is going to be, and then you end up
So
having to take that big loss. So then let's say you
okay.
do this a lot.
Yeah. So
right?
essentially, what you're
Like,
saying is they overextended and bought too much inventory, and then they got stuck with stuff they couldn't move, or it was not moving fast enough to pay for the overhead of storing it and everything else. I mean, one of the things you're talking about, like going moldy and all that stuff, one of the ways Magic can essentially just turn into mold is devaluation. And you could have a ton of Magic stock, and it's not gonna, there's no fire, there's no mold or flood that ruins it. It just suddenly is worth nothing. I mean, there were people who had many collectible items over the years, from sports cards to Beanie Babies to whatever, and it was worth a lot at some. Look at NFTs in the modern era.
Oh my
Like
goodness,
most of
yes.
those are worth absolutely nothing now, but people played a lot. So one of the issues I think here is, I mean, what you're saying I can't speak to. I don't know how much they buy. I don't know who has access to that information. Who knows? Maybe they overextended potentially. But the guy makes a good point, Ben Burns, the owner of Troll and Toad here, when he says that, one of the major reasons was the reprinting of valuable cards, the devaluation of stuff, the number of variants, the soaking up of the money of all the Magic consumers, and essentially over milking the community and killing your golden goose. And we even
yeah,
saw Hasbro stock last year at this time, November, a month from now. The Bank of America devalue, or what did they downgraded the Hasbro stock, and literally
Mhm.
said the reason why is because they are cannibalizing their own market, and they are printing way too much. They're flooding the market with stuff. It's too many products. There's product fatigue happening throughout, all the player base. I feel it. You feel it. I mean, you're even
I
more
feel
in
it a
tune with
lot.
this because you're
I
buying
feel it a
buying
lot.
stuff all the time.
Yeah. So
Um,
imagine like my point is like,
yeah,
imagine you spend like $20,000 on one card, and then that card gets reprinted, it loses half of its value. You just lost all your money.
in
You
a
literally
way,
just
Mhm.
yeah.
burned $20,000.
Sure.
So when
Well,
you
and
overextend like that,
right,
that's where things start to hurt you.
and right
Right.
there. You touched on something that I think a lot of casual players of the game don't think about day to day, and that is the value of the reserve list itself. Because that's the thing.
Hmm.
Wizards has said we will not reprint these. So if you spend $200,000 on a card, if you spend, you know, $50,000 on a Black Lotus that was bent in half, like at the end of the
Yeah.
day, they've promised that that will not get reprinted. And I
But
think part of the consumer confidence that a lot of people are feeling in the investor market was with Magic 30. The fact that they did
yes,
straight up
then they
gold
printed
border
Magic
reprint
30.
those cards. Um,
Yeah.
like I have a feeling like that
That
all of a
was
sudden
the worst
those are the
decision I think that they've ever made.
easily
Yeah.
like
Period.
The
I'm not sure, but
I
repercussions.
legitimately think that
Yeah.
reprinting a card, like, it kind of took away from reprinting Black Lotus, honestly, because now when Black Lotus gets reprinted, if eventually it does,
I'm sure it
it
will. It's just a
won't
question.
feel as
It's just a
good
matter of
because we
time.
know that there was like a Magic 30 version.
Hmm.
It's not going to be the
Yeah.
first time Black Lotus has been reprinted. That's
Which
what
and
everyone's
it
going to
would
say,
have
right?
been. Can you
And it,
imagine
Right.
yeah, and it would
the
have been.
spectacle that would have been?
Yeah, it
Oh
would have
my
been like
goodness.
20 different variants of it or
Hmm.
whatever. But
Yeah.
I think that that was the biggest mistake they made because it really, like, the equity of the game is in all these old pieces, right?
Hmm.
I always used to say Magic's not a museum, but that's what the Power Nine is. That's what some of these old Alpha Beta cards are. They're the museum of Magic. They showcase like everything Magic's ever been about.
The
But
history.
I
Yeah.
think that by them reprinting that, it really damages a lot of people's investment in the game. And that's why you are seeing
Yeah.
people like Troll and Toad and a lot of other people kind of bow out, right? Let's say Troll and Toad could probably keep buying Magic cards and probably just keep going. But they're making the decision and saying, look, whether or not I have burned my own bridges or whether or not it has to do with Magic, I'm not going to do it anymore. And in all
Yeah.
honesty, this isn't the first time that we've seen something like this. This is very pandemic like, where you have all these stores, all these people who can't support a business that runs off of people being in your business every day. And if those people aren't there every day, then there's a problem. If I'm not buying cards, there's a problem,
Hmm.
Yeah.
right? If
Yeah.
no one's in the store playing Magic, there's a problem. And
Well,
I
yeah.
think that all those kind of factor into keeping your store going. And obviously Troll and Toad isn't necessarily like a brick and mortar. They deal with a lot more of like the online, and online's even harder, right? Like online, you're spending all these fees, so you end up like that 15 cents turns into like 8 cents, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then even less down the line. Like it just really hurts you.
Yeah.
And I think that for me personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with Magic, but I think that it's not a given like it used to be. I think there was a certain time period where if you wanted to open your own store and maybe be a little bit successful, it was like okay to do it. But I think now it's too difficult because you're really against a lot of odds, right? Like what you have to hope that people in your area play. You already have to know players. There's so much that goes into like opening like a place like that, and
Hmm.
even having like an online retailing store too is like really difficult. Um, I
Yeah,
don't know.
but
Well,
you can do it. I think it just depends on what the
hmm
store is focused on and stuff. Like there are still stores that are doing tournament circuits and doing things like that. They're busy, but yeah, like it's just a different type of store than what used to exist. I mean, like yeah, the old school way of running a Magic store, it doesn't yeah, it won't work these days. And there's a lot we don't see. Like we were talking before the podcast about distributor pricing and stuff, and that kind of aspect where as a consumer you just see the final sticker price and it's like, why is Commander Master so expensive? Why is this so expensive? Why is that? And it might seem like the store is just jacking up the price and they
yeah,
just
it
want
has
more
nothing
money.
to
It's
do with
like,
the store. The
no,
stores
the
like really take a big
distributors,
hit.
Hmm.
yeah, they
Like,
squeeze the stores. It's crazy, and essentially
yeah,
leverage, like they rake them over the coals in order to, you know, get a good price. You've got to buy a certain amount. You've got to keep buying these large amounts of product, and then you're taking a big chance being stuck with a bunch of inventory you can't
I
sell, and it's
think
like it's huge problems. But
I think it's like a store is like a business. So there's a few things to add on to that. Like the first thing is that like
yeah,
it's like a store is like a business. You really need to focus on what a good product is. And off the podcast we were talking about, I mentioned that I think that some sets are a test. And
Hmm.
I
hmm
think Commander Masters was like that. And it's really unfortunate because a lot of stores get blown out by products like Commander Masters. But going into it, you have to like when you're given your numbers and you see how much all the product is, you really have to value whether or not that product is worth ordering everything that you normally order of. Because if you're going to do that, then you kind of don't have anyone to blame a little bit but yourself because you weren't being that smart about what product you needed to order. If you look at Commander Masters and you say, okay, this is going to cost us this, we're only going to make, you know, $5 to $10 a box or something, right? Then you have to upcharge an extra like $100 or an extra 50 $75. You also can't be the guy who's the person who's selling less than everyone else. Let's say you're putting all your boxes on TCG and trying to be the cool person and being like, yeah, $315. Well, you're just going to get bought out, and then those people are going to flip your boxes. So you're like in this horrible spot where you're missing out on money regardless. So
Hmm.
I think that that's something that a lot of people don't realize. Everyone really blames the LGS, but in reality, the LGS is just doing their best to get you the cards for the amount of money that they can try to make because they're really barely
right,
making any money. You're making more money off of them winning a local tournament than they're making
yeah.
per like box, per
So
like individual sealed product. Like
yeah,
it's
it's
tough,
so like there's a lot of factors here, and they are um, printing all these different variants and alternate art styles and everything to kind of justify the value, the increasing price of a pack of Magic cards. I feel like a lot of times all this random nonsense that mostly I don't care about. That's the other irony here is the more special cards they print, whether it's a serialized numbered card or different art styles and stuff, or even full art basic lands, they are less desirable just by virtue of the fact that now there's so many art styles. There are so many full art basic. I remember when a full art basic land was really cool, and it was I would notice from like two games over, holy crap,
Hmm.
you got beautiful like unhinged full art John Avon basics like or whatever it is, or unglued at that time were the only two. And then original Zendikar was like, holy crap, full art lands in a non-joke set. This is great. And of course the whatever not unhinged, the latest unglued
unglued
sets.
was the old
Un,
one.
what
Well,
was the
there's
latest one?
Unglued
They
was the
had
first.
beautiful lands.
Unstable, Unfinity.
Unstable. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But
yeah.
but in a normal set, I mean, but now every set has just full art
Hmm.
basics, and so they like it's weird. They keep trying to justify the value of the packs going up. I know Wizards prices are going up, and like you said, it's a test. I think it's capitalism, right? They are going to continue pushing to see how much they can try, just like the video game industry. I mean, a game for Nintendo when I used to have a Nintendo as a kid was less sometimes than games now. I mean, it depends on the game, but some games are so expensive for like a remake. You're paying like $70 or whatever. It's like what? Or Sony trying to get people to pay for patches and things. So it's
It,
unfortunate. I
it's
wonder
like the
if there's
same
a way to
thing, yeah.
reverse it. But yeah, it's and you know what you said is exactly what the troll and toad guy says in this article right at the end here. You know, saying yeah, Magic 30, the 30th anniversary edition really made them nervous and spooked their management into basically going, you know
Yeah,
what,
it's just a
like
bad
we don't know
idea.
what Wizards is capable of. It was just like the D&D thing when they tried to license, like pay for the licensing of the D&D stuff, and it was just like, whoa, immediate backlash because what the hell are you doing? And they backed off it. You know what it reminds me of right now? Again, going to the game industry, if you've been paying attention to Unity and the game physics engine, the game engine Unity, and what they did to their clients, it's crazy. It's just like a company just going, you know what? Let's push them. Let's see how much money we can squeeze, and then this huge backlash, and they back off. But the damage is done now. You're backing off that position, going, okay, we won't do it. But you've already shown that you're willing to try, and therefore you violated all the trust. And a game like Magic is a house of cards in that way. It's a secondary market that depends, it's completely propped up on how much
Stocks, just
people think
stocks.
this is worth. Yeah, if
Yeah.
they say, you know what, screw this, I'm going to start printing my own proxies, that's it, the whole thing collapses. And when Wizards prints proxies like that, yeah, sorry,
And that's what happened. Because right now, what are the formats that are driving paper prices? One of the big ones right now is
Modern and
Commander.
Commander.
Well,
Commander,
there
yeah.
is no tournament structure for the most. I know there are CEDH
No, there's the
tournaments out there.
RCQs. The RCQs are
Like-
like this thing that essentially makes you believe that there is a structure in place, and that's what's keeping some of those prices up.
99.5% of Commander games are casual games with friends, and the vast majority of those aren't occurring at local game stores, even like not even within the building. Although many of them are, to be fair. Like, and huge props to game stores for giving everybody a place to congregate and
Right.
support your local game stores. I'm gonna get behind that,
Yeah.
like along with everybody else. It is important, but at the end of the day, my cards don't need to be tournament legal. I just need to make sure that I'm not pissing off 3 other people. As long as my proxies are legible, like if I'm just scribbling, an illegible thing onto a forest, okay, that's not cool. But if I'm printing off a copy of the card and sticking it into a sleeve with a basic land, who cares? You know, like at the end of the
I
day,
agree.
as long as you
And-
can still play the game, most people are just gonna be like, yeah, whatever. And so it's like, well, I wanted to run Gaia's Cradle in my deck, and I'm not spending, a rent payment or half a rent payment or whatever on one piece of cardboard. So I just
Wow. First of all, I'm jealous. That's a rent payment for you. Okay, well, my rent is
I'm in a
3
tiny
Gaia's
rural
Cradles.
town. It's nice.
Anyway,
Rural
but
town, not close to anything. It's very nice.
no, you're absolutely right. And as the prices of cards go up, as the price goes
Anyway.
up of cards, and as Wizards kind of erodes the implicit trust that the community has in order to prop up this secondary market, more and more people will be willing to be like, yeah, sure, proxies, I don't mind. Whereas 10 years ago, no way, no,
Absolutely not.
proxies,
I can
no.
tell you right now-
it's like, sure, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's weird.
of course.
I can tell you right now, everyone's been selling out their cards.
I believe you.
know,
Sure.
can you guess
A
what
lot of
card
that's happening.
people have been selling that I'm not surprised? Can you guys guess right now? It's really easy.
Out of all the cards in Magic, is it a
Well,
recent
no, out of all the
printing,
cards that
or
are
what?
about to be reprinted, what is the one card that
Oh.
you think has been traded in?
Cavern of Souls?
Is
No.
it Mana Crypt?
Mana
Yeah.
Crypt, really?
Mana Crypt.
Mana Crypt is.
I haven't seen
Mana
one
Crypt
Cavern
is
of
a money
Souls yet.
card right now.
Wow.
When Ixalan drops, it's going to be dropping with like 5 different variants, and so the number
Still,
of
Mana
them,
Crypt, it's not gonna go down really low. I mean, it's gonna take a
will.
hit.
It'll
but-
take a hit.
Well,
It'll.
fetch
It'll.
lands
What is
were
it at
never going to
now?
go down
It's
very
at
low either.
150.
Scalding Tarn used to be $100.
Yeah.
It's now what,
I
25,
remember.
maybe 30. Like,
Yeah.
But it's
And people
between
were saying
150
that-
and 180. It's like somewhere in that
Okay.
range. And if it gets
So-
reprinted, I think it'll be like 80 or $90. And then imagine this: by the
Jeez.
time the set actually drops, because pre-sale, let's say
Hmm.
it's like $100. Then
Mm-hmm.
once pre-sale goes out and the set actually drops, it'll probably go down to like $80 if it really does go down that much. And then they can't reprint that card again for like 2 years if it does go
Right,
down to like
but
70 or $80.
We're talking about a mythic, not just a mythic rarity. These are only like very. I don't even know what the rate. What is the drop rate for Mana Crypt in this set? It's a fraction
it's
of
like
what
really
a mythic
low.
is, right?
Yeah, it's like really low.
So this isn't the same as reprinting fetch lands, for example, which were rares in the set. You know what I mean? Like you're
Right,
right.
fair,
It's
fair.
gonna drop, but it's not gonna drop
I
these
see
are
that
gonna be worth
argument.
thousands.
I see
Yeah.
that argument, but I like counter that argument by saying, have you seen the amount of seal product people open nowadays? It has nothing to
Yeah,
do
we'll
with whether or not
see.
the
Yeah,
drops are so
maybe.
low. You could say that about
I
any
mean,
serialized card. Any
you know what? I
serialized
think
card is that low, but I can guarantee you right now that a lot of serialized cards have been opened.
well, okay, because a lot of people were let's just say that
And
that's
those are
artificially
collector boxes
inflated,
too.
but that's because of Lord of the Rings. That's artificially inflated right now because they literally
March of
printed a
the
set with a
Machine,
golden
Brothers
ticket
War,
in
all
it.
those sets sell like hot.
Do you think
Kamigawa
so?
was another
Really? Like,
serialized
Well,
set.
and
That set
based
sells
on
like hot. Like all
okay,
we've
these
also
okay.
sets
I don't
seen
know.
go. Like they
we've also
go.
Interesting.
seen massive like liquidation sales on sealed product in recent years. That's something I know. Like Amazon, I like at this point, like a year ago or so, had like more Crimson. Like apparently they were like 50% off
Yeah,
boxes of Crimson Vow for like a week or something
they
like
were
that out
like
of
below
nowhere.
cost.
And they were just
Yeah.
like, just get rid of it. Because clearly they're printing this stuff into the ground to the point where a lot of distributors and a lot of retailers are having a hard time moving all of it.
And I
And
think it's
so,
also there's less of
yeah,
it being opened. Like some of those big card opening
maybe.
places that used to open for like Channel Fireball, they had like a when they used to do their own marketplaces and stuff, they had companies that would just literally open like tons of product for them, and then
Yeah.
it would all be listed on their website or whatever, right?
Yeah, SCG
But
opened the one of 500 Ragavan because they opened so
right,
much product. Imagine
they
how
opened
many
so much
serialized
product.
cards they open. They
Yeah,
probably open
right.
like 100 to 200 serialized cards.
Sure.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, probably. But they just
And,
so that was but Lord of the Rings was an anomaly. Most sets they're not doing that anymore. In fact, that was one of the reasons Sholdred was so artificially high at first was that set there was not a ton of it opened apparently. Like the
it
resellers
was
and stuff, they
pandemic.
didn't open a ton of it. So yeah, like things like that artificially kind of inflated the price. Now, of course, much later, Sholdred's in a lot of decks and everything else and
It's
deserves kind of
Sure.
a
the only
higher
reason
price
it's
now,
that
but
expensive, though, at least like most of the reasons it's that expensive, it's the only good card in that set. So the value
that's
has
part
to
of
go
it, yeah.
somewhere. So if that card, it's Me Hook Massacre. If you look at Me Hook Massacre and
Yeah, yeah,
Innistrad,
same thing.
that was the only card that was like 70, $80. So
I
both
mean,
of
it's
those cards were
rare.
kind of like holding up their own set. They're both mythic.
I mean, but
Um,
it's rare to have that kind of pricing instead. Not every set has a $70 card, right? Like usually there's like 20,
yeah,
sometimes 50 during
it's
pre-release,
because
and then it quickly drops.
there's no balance. Like all the cards in those sets suck. Like honestly,
Yeah, it's just yeah, the one
it's
card,
like
right?
Shieldred, Painlands,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, I think that
Yeah,
Shieldred's gonna
but
take most of the hit.
when the showcase art borderless pain lands that are averaging like $1.10 are the next best thing you could open. It's like oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, between
Well,
what Ham's talking
Yeah.
about with throwing away product and between people opening product, I can guarantee you there's
yeah.
going to be, on YouTube the first week, there's going to be a ton of box openings for Ixalan, and everyone's going to be like,
Hmm.
look, I opened a Mana Crypt. It's going to be the same thing with confetti foils.
Yep.
I've seen someone go get a booster pack, open a confetti foil. We open the next box, another person opens a pack, another confetti foil. You're going to tell me that confetti foils are rare? They're like, not. And they're supposed to
I
be
don't
like a
know.
certain
They're
chance of
supposed to be
them
really rare.
too. Yeah, it's another card that's supposed to be like super
Uh,
duper quadruple foil, right? It's like a
hmm.
textured
Well,
foil,
I think
but doesn't feel
all
like that. It
these
really just doesn't feel like that, honestly.
yeah, and I mean, the more of these kind of fancy things they print, I mean, if there's one special print like treatment type in a very small number of cards, sure. But if there are 10 different treatment types and they're all small, well, now there's actually there's a 10 times higher chance just because there's so many of them.
I
Hmm.
think
Anyway,
that something that
mhm,
people, to add on a little bit to this real quick, I think that one thing that no one's talking about that I've noticed since I started like working a lot more in it every day is that for me, it feels weird saying this, but for me, it feels like Magic is trying to be other games. And we've never seen that before with Magic. The reason I
yeah,
say that is because I also buy a lot of Pokemon cards like every day, right? We have big stake in Pokemon, right?
Sure.
And a lot of Pokemon has to do with alternate arts. Pokemon's very top heavy. Like most your average card's literally worthless, even if it's like super duper cool full art rainbow foil, literally like rainbow and everything, with secret rares, all that stuff. Like they aren't worth anything. And your Charizards are going to be worth something. Certain cards that maybe get played in tournaments are worth something, or certain, oh, the super special actual edition of this card is like worth something. And I think that that's where Magic is trying to take a little bit of that market away and trying to dip their hand into it, right? The game isn't changing, but the way the cards look is changing. And because they're making so many different versions of it, instead of it, they're trying to find a way to give themselves new equity in the game. by making all these alternate
Sure.
variants. But the
The
problem is
Universes
that they're
Beyond
not.
is part of this, right?
Yeah, they're not doing a good job yet because they're not Pokemon. Pokemon's perfected it, right? Yu-Gi-Oh just does pretty much the same thing, but then you also have games like One Piece. You have games like there's Grand Archive, games like these that the full art of them looks amazing. Flesh and Blood, another game where some of these cards look beautiful, but Magic, I can on I don't know how you guys feel about this. There's some really pretty Magic cards, but at the end of the day, through all these variants, there's not really much people talk about. There's no
Mhm.
specific variants where people are like, man, that one variant, man, that. But instead, in like Pokemon, yeah, they talk about that variant. Oh, I know that when I go to a box, I'm trying to open the Charizard that looks like this. But when you go open a collector, all you're really trying to open is that one card. It doesn't matter what the Jeweled Lotus looks like. If I get a
Mhm.
Jeweled Lotus, I'm happy. Whereas in Pokemon, one Charizard is enough. I'm actually trying to get this Charizard V where he's flying up, the trainer's in front of him, and it looks beautiful,
And
and the foil's got like a little texture on it, and
well,
it
and
feels
but
cool, and it's like $100 card.
that is a
It's a
great
hundred
point
dollar
though.
card because it's a specific character. It's a good card. The art looks cool, but Magic hasn't gotten there yet.
Yeah. Well, and I
Interesting.
think a big part of that is that we're just oversaturated right now. And the thing is, I feel like in Pokemon, they give this really flashy, beautiful treatment to like one card that they know is good. Whereas in Magic, they'll do the showcase version for some garbage uncommon that nobody cares about. It's like, why is this a thing? And
Yeah, it's the old arena problem where you have like 15 different duress arts.
the
It's
Duress
like
Arts,
real
the
life.
classic
That happens in like
example.
real
Yep.
life for sure.
Hey, at least we have favorites now. At least I can select my favorite art, so I
Oh my
don't have
god,
to go
I'm
through
so
all the
glad they
basic
finally added
lands
that.
on Arena
And
every
I
single
actually went
time.
and bought a couple basic lands on Arena since they implemented that. And I'm happy to have them now.
Well,
At the time,
I,
like, no, thank you. In the back,
yeah,
yeah, previously, absolutely not. But
I want to
we've
wrap this
seen.
up, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
you
of
want to
course.
say?
One other point that I want to mention to kind of try to. I'm gonna try to tie it all together. We'll find ways to
Yeah.
spin this off. I know, but when we so Hollywood, you mentioned earlier about Wizards kind of like testing certain printings and certain like markets to try to see like, okay, does this work? If
I can
so,
give you specific
push it.
examples too.
But and I want to give one as well that ties into this like modification that we're like going crazy with the number of variants that we see. The first one that I remember them really, I will say, jump the shark on was in M21, Teferi Master of Time. Do you guys remember this card?
Yeah.
This was one where they clearly thought this card was going to be more impactful than it was. It was the mythic from the set. They marketed the set as like a Teferi themed set. It turns out it wasn't, but whatever. But this particular card had like 7 or 8 different arts that barely looked different from one another.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Really?
But they had different collector numbers.
This was like the beginning of the variants because so you had this, and then you also had
Wow.
something that the big deal that everyone's been talking about over the last 2 weeks was that War of the Spark Super Edition. That's been one of the hottest topics on like
Oh my
YouTube.
goodness, I
even know
remember
what that
that. The
is.
Mythic Edition where
And
they sold you
yeah, Mythic
an
Edition.
uncut sheet.
Yeah.
Oh, that
So
was
Mythic
the dumbest
Edition
thing.
is like the beginning of like collector boosters. It's secret layers essentially,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
that's where we're at
Okay.
today. I think spot on him. I think that's like a really great point.
Yeah.
For
So-
me, most recently, it's going to be Aftermath. I think Aftermath was
Ugh.
them trying to see what are the least amount of cards in a booster pack that we can put in there, but still charge the same amount of money,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
how small of a set can we really make and try to sell the packs? Like, will people like it? And honestly, Aftermath was kind of meh. And
yeah.
I don't know if they're going to want to do it again.
I hope that means that they're gonna call that a failure and move on from it and not revisit.
Well,
it.
Yeah, I
That's
think
my
so.
hope.
We,
I think
we
so.
still have
see.
alchemy, so they don't really like to acknowledge their failures. Anyway,
Anyway.
let's put a bow on this.
Yes.
I just want to end on a positive note because this is dire. I mean, this is literally like existential threat to the game dire. They could run this into the ground in the direction they're heading, and you saw this kind of the ship change course into this direction when it was purchased by Hasbro in 2006.
I
It took a
personally
few
like-
years for that to, yeah.
I personally feel bad for Troll and Toad because they're such a
Yeah.
big, important, integral part of the community, and they have been for a very long time, that I think it's
Right.
really bad that somebody like them has to get out of Magic.
Yeah, I
Like
agree.
it's
when somebody like
astounding,
them
actually.
has to get out of Magic, there's probably a problem somewhere because that means that
Well,
business
yeah,
isn't sustainable.
30
Because we're
So
years
talking
and
like
that's yeah.
the
one of the
amount of
biggest
volume.
people.
They buy so much volume. I think they probably had such an insane relationship with the distributor. They were probably getting really good pricing, way better than your typical shop that just opened 5 years ago. They've literally got a 30-year long relationship with Wizards of the Coast, but through distributors and whatever. I mean, actually, that must have predated. They probably have a direct relationship with Wizards. I've heard this. There are large enough companies that have been doing it long enough, the ones right at the beginning, that actually have direct lines to Wizard for product. They don't pay the same. They essentially can skip the middleman, right? And they don't go through distributors.
Yeah, they don't
But
have to pay the
that
extra fee.
Yeah.
so I mean that's something you
That'd
don't
be
think
huge.
about. Doesn't mention that in this article, but they probably had a very low cost. So if they're saying this isn't profitable and Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, One Piece, etc. are profitable and we're going to keep doing those, we're just going to drop Magic.
Hmm
Yeah, that's a big red flag for the future of the game.
For
So
me, the two
what
best games right now are Flesh and Blood and One Piece. I think those are the
okay.
two best games right now.
Best in terms of what? In terms of their
Like
polish, like
popularity,
money,
popularity. I think people are hungry
popularity.
for both of
Okay.
those games. Like so hungry for both of those games. Like people want to
Hmm.
play. Whereas Magic,
Hmm. I
people
mean,
are like, that's the feeling I get from the players. But
I was
Magic,
gonna
it kind
say
of
you're
feels like the same. Like
right. But let's. What are you basing this on? Your store experience, right? Your
yeah,
one
mostly
LGS.
like this. Well, that and the players' experience because I talk to the players. So the Flesh and
Right.
Blood people I'm really close with. Like they're really awesome.
Okay.
I'm actually gonna try to start streaming the tournaments and
Flesh and
stuff.
blood.
But
Oh,
yeah,
Okay.
but
cool.
Cool. Yeah.
they're really awesome. And I talked to them and they were like, yeah, when you have like an event at like the store and stuff, people drive from like Texas, people drive from like California, people literally drive across the country just to come to some random qualifier because they're so hungry to play the game. And to me,
Right.
no one, most people won't do that for Magic. They just won't.
Yep.
And
I.
I think that, and not anymore. And
Not
that, for
anymore.
me, that really
Yeah.
speaks volumes to how popular the game is. One Piece, as soon as we get it, it sells out every day, at least 5 to 6 times a week, maybe. There's one person who calls about One Piece. Sometimes it's multiple times a day. It just people want
Interesting.
it. People want it all the time. Whereas Magic's like it doesn't the hype for it doesn't happen till like the very end. And I think that it's because those games do it right. The main thing that those games are doing, that a lot of games aren't doing, is listening to their player base. Flesh and Blood, I think, is the best at it. Flesh and Blood listens to what their players want. They try to give
That's
them the
fair.
best experience that they can. And they also think ahead. They do products that are a lot closer to how Pokemon treats their players. Pokemon, in my opinion, is the best because what Pokemon does is Pokemon knows how to reach everybody and in a very good way. Pokemon says we want to bring new players in. Okay, well we have all these products that are targeted towards, younger players that,
Hmm.
are already invested in wanting to go into Pokemon. They have a lot of collectability with these alternate arts. A lot of the same thing that we're saying Magic wants to be like. I think that all these games are
Hmm.
doing things that Magic wants to do, and I think the only thing that's saving Magic right now is that it's been around for 30 years. And that's that
Hmm.
you can make that same argument for Troll and
Well,
Toad. The
It's
only
got a
thing that was
foundation.
holding up Troll and Toad, like you're saying, is that maybe they were getting a better deal than everybody else, and that's what was sustaining them. But now they don't even
could have been.
want it
Yeah.
anymore because
Yeah.
it's not even making them enough money. And
Yeah.
I just think
So
that all that stuff kind of like a lot of that stuff goes hand in hand, you know?
sure. I mean, I can't speak to a lot of this stuff because I don't play One Piece. I don't play Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon, but I don't know. If I think maybe I need to see some actual information on some of this stuff because Magic I think is still
The main problem is
mechanically
that
the
Magic
best
doesn't have
game.
a competitive scene anymore. That's actually the main problem. The
Well, we
reason
just
that
had
all
World
these other
Championships,
games,
right?
eh,
That were like a massive prize pool. It's still far larger than any of
yeah,
these other games. Like, let's not kid
yeah,
ourselves here.
that's
Like, we're
that's
talking.
fine, but that's it. That's it though. There is no Grand Prix every weekend. There is no
Yeah, the
hot event
competitive that thing.
that's
Yeah.
making your cards be worth $1,200 in modern. In
Well,
standard, $500 for a deck. Are you kidding me? $500 for a deck? What tournaments are you playing in?
well,
Most LGSs can't even support the format
let's see
because
what
nobody's going out
happens.
to play it. So it's
They
like,
Wizards has said they want Standard to be a real format again. They extended it to 3 years. That was not for arena players. That was for paper players. They want Standard to be a real competitive. They are forcing all the stores to do Standard showdowns. They are forcing all the stores to do Standard RCQs. There's no limited RCQs for that Standard season.
They need to bring it
qualifying.
back. They
So
really need to
they're
bring
pushing.
Standard back and competitive
Let's see.
Magic, because right
They're
now I
trying.
think
Yeah.
without competitive Magic, it's a big problem.
Yeah,
and it
and
doesn't
we-
even have anything to do with like people. It's not straight up selling the cards, right? Whereas like Wizards selling a secret lair makes them money. Tournaments make them so much money because it makes random people who grind tournaments, like we talked about the
Well,
other day.
it gives
Yeah,
the
they're going to
cards
buy
value.
singles, but some people have enough money to buy all the packs. But you're making it so
yeah,
that
I
there's no
think,
value to the packs. Like,
Yeah. Go ahead, Em. What?
No, it gives the cards value. Having a tournament that you can play in, like right now, if I knew that I could invest $100 into cobbling together some okay Standard deck, and if I knew I had a place to play it every weekend, whether I could make it out every single weekend or not, I'd be much more inclined to invest in it. Whereas right now,
Yeah.
like if I put a Standard deck together, I'm gonna play it, I don't know, 2 maybe 3 times before it rotates. Like,
Yeah. And we
no
spoke
thanks.
about this
Like,
last
it's,
week,
it's,
right?
It's just not good value. Yeah.
Yeah. We touched on this last week when we talked about, the Standard play coming back and all the announcements from Worlds and all that stuff.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and like we said, yeah, they are rebuilding it. Standard used to be the main vehicle that they sold Magic cards on the back of, and now that's changed. It's a lot more casual focused, and so Standard's lost some of its shine. But really, it was the pandemic that killed it. I mean, it was a 2-year format, and
course.
that was 2 years of no play. So, the arena's a factor there. We touched on all these things last time, but we'll see
Yeah.
if they can bring it back. I think there's still a future. And as far as the game stores go, I'd like to end this little segment that went on way too long on a positive note. I want to say that. If you're a store and you're like Troll and Toad, and we were asking how can they still be profitable. Yeah, you've got to transition that model into building the community, running a tournament circuit. Maybe you get revenue that way, leagues, things like that. I know there's a lot of stores that run lean into the casual side of it, do commander leagues, do whatever other leagues, and have good prize support, build a community. Like I know when I was going to a shop all the time, I wanted a place that had good prizes. I wouldn't mind paying $10 or $15 or whatever it is to play some FNM or Standard Showdown, all the different tournaments. If I knew that the prizes were good and they were, the store owner wasn't being cheap and they weren't, and the tournaments were well run and it was clean and it was safe and it was well lit and the bathrooms were clean and like just run a professional store, focus on the community, and you can still run a business and make a profit. But this whole like the buying and selling and the like, yeah, like it's almost like penny stocks and stuff, but large scale volume. Maybe
how it's
that
always
model
been.
is done. It's always
it's how
been
it's
like
always
that.
been.
I'm
The
saying,
main problem is that it has not been at
Yeah.
this scale.
I think it's gonna
That is where the
change.
main problem is it's never been this big, and I
Yeah.
don't know if it's not going to collapse, because I mean I know I'll buy
No, the
some Magic
game's
cards.
too good.
Like everyone will
people
buy some
won't let
Magic
it die.
cards, so it's not like the prices aren't ever really going to tank that much. But
Yeah.
I think that something they really need to find a way for people to care about Magic cards, because all these other games. Listen, like 5 to 10 years ago, we wouldn't bring up any of these games ever, even in the same sense as Magic the Gathering. And now we're talking about all these games like there's a shot. And
I don't know.
actually think
I
that's
don't-
why
I
for
don't
me
agree.
that's why I think it feels desperate. I think all the
No.
all the
I mean,
variants
hey,
and everything just feels like
It sounds like we have a lot
don't
of
know.
new sexy things on the market right now, and
Yeah,
that is getting people's
Lorcana's another
attention.
one.
yeah.
Like, and we have yet to see if any of them are going to be threatening Magic long term.
We'll see. All I want is them to support the local game stores more. Prop up.
100%.
That's what we need. We need lifeblood in some of these local game stores. Otherwise, more people like Troll
Not
and
with
Toad
sets
are
like
gonna,
Commander Masters though.
But we'll see.
That's
Yeah, we'll
that's
see
where
what
the
they
problem
do.
ends
We'll
up.
see.
Yeah, that's where the problem ends up being. But yeah, I agree.
All right.
Support the LGS.
Yeah, who knew that talking about consumer confidence and the secondary market was going to become a big topic? I know, it's crazy, right?
Existential threats. Yeah.
Well, so speaking of existential threats that are going to
Yeah.
be potential doomsaying topics that make you seriously question the health of the game moving forward, we have another headline that came out just recently that is kind of shocking, actually. Apparently, Wizards of the Coast will actually no longer be sponsoring the Judge Academy.
yeah.
Didn't you
Which
guys
is kind of
say
wild to think about.
competitive Magic's coming back and
We were hoping.
Yeah.
We are
yeah,
So
hoping.
we'll see.
that's
We'll
tough.
see what they do with this. Yeah, they clearly have to have a plan for this. They aren't just gonna let there not be judges. Like they need
Yeah,
judges. They know they need judges.
absolutely.
I was talking about this a little bit today on stream with some people, and two judges actually who are mods in my channel, and one of them was kind of like he's a new judge. He just got certified, in the last, I don't know, 6 months, 8 months, and he's kind of like, what? Like, oh my god, like I did all this and now I'm a judge, and like, what the hell? Like, this is. And then the
Sure.
other guy who's been judging for a long time, he's like, this is not a big deal and it's going to change nothing. And I was like, what? And he's like, the stores hire judges based on relationships and who they know and stuff. He's like, I'm still going to judge for my store. This doesn't change anything. My store's still going to call me my LGS and my, I'm still going to go. He was in Vegas. He was judging at Vegas as well. And so I've heard basically, I don't know, there's like two different sides to this. I don't know what you guys think. What do you think? Is this a bad thing, good thing? I mean, we don't know much here.
Kind of feels like it's a poopy situation, but if I'm being pretty like honest, I not even being a judge myself, um, I feel like it wasn't the best program.
Yeah.
Maybe there was a lot of I don't want to say anything really too negative about it because I personally don't know anything about this at all, like firsthand. But um, from what I can see on the outside looking in, it wasn't something that was the greatest program of all time, and I think that it sucks because there was already a structure in place, and that structure is dissolving. It's also like freedom for a lot of people who maybe for everyone who's part of that program that I feel really bad for judges because all they're getting are some magic cards. And at the end of the day,
Yeah.
that literally doesn't mean anything.
Well,
Well,
It's
as
really
long as they're
hard for you
worth
to go
something.
on magicjank.com, to go on eBay, to go on TCG Player. It's really hard for you to go on these websites and sell some of the stuff because there's a lot of it out there. And it really is hurtful for the judges who spend a lot of their hard-earned money, their living money, on going to these events because they're very passionate about the game. We're also passionate about the
Yeah.
game, and to see them kind of drugged down over the last pretty much since their existence is a shame. And yeah, this isn't the greatest thing, but like I said, I feel like there might be some freedom here for a lot of people who are part of the program, honestly. 'Cause now they don't have to work for booster boxes. Maybe they could work for something else, you know?
Well,
Well, but
nobody. Yeah, go ahead, Em.
Well, so here we have the Judge Academy is an organization that handles training new judges, onboarding judges, getting judges certified to be, judges for the game. What's happening here is Wizards of the Coast has been sponsoring them up until this point and will continue to do so until October 13th is the cutoff date. So next week,
Right.
effectively, Wizards will no longer be sponsoring them. Now, one thing that I don't see in this letter that we've read here, and I'm not affiliated with the Judge Academy or the Judge Program in any way. What I don't see here is what does that mean exactly? Like, how much money was Wizards of the Coast giving into the Judge Academy to support it? I would hope a fair amount because the Judge Academy was providing an integral service to competitive Magic play, which was propping up Wizards of the Coast's entire freaking business to some degree, right? Like a large portion of it. And so it seems logical to me that those organizations would work together to the point where Wizards of the Coast cutting sponsorship to the Judge Academy. I'm guessing the Judge Academy probably won't be around. I can't imagine it would exist much longer if they don't have the support of the
No.
mothership, right? I mean, that's just my gut check on the situation.
Well, in
right?
the article, it specifically says who will be managing the Magic Judge program next is a question. It says it has
Yeah.
not been communicated to Judge Academy what next steps are for Magic Judge program. However, Wizards has expressed to us their understanding of the importance of judges to Magic the Gathering organized play. So essentially, yeah, they're kind of like, we haven't heard
They have a
anything.
plan.
We're just as much in the
was-
dark as you, right?
I hope
Like,
they
at
have a
least
plan.
that's what I get from that
Wizards. I'm
statement.
assuming, yeah, and of course they don't know. They don't work at Wizards. So Wizards, I'm sure, has a plan here for whatever it is. But it does worry me because, like Ham said, I imagine, I don't know how much money was going back and forth or what was being paid to who or whatever to run this kind of a program. But if they did cut it off because of costs, then whatever they're going to replace it with is almost certainly going to be a worse version of this, and it's going to be essentially a cheaper, crappier judge training school. Or I don't exactly know what they're going to do here. I think we really should just wait to see what Wizards says about what's going to
Yeah.
be happening down the road.
That's
But
fair.
it
That's
is kind of sudden. I don't know. I don't really pay attention to a lot of this world, but I know there's been drama. You were alluding to, it not being maybe the greatest. The Judge Academy, I don't know
Yeah,
what
it
that's
could
referring
open
to,
up a
but
chance for Wizards to have like a real structured thing in place. I feel like
Well,
the structure that
yeah.
already existed, like I said, like obviously on Twitter and a lot of other circumstances, a lot of people kind of say a lot of negative things about working for Wizards of the Coast.
Mhm.
But you know,
Hmm.
I think that in this instance, like I said, there's kind of two different shining lights, and that's that the judges kind of get a little bit more freedom and they don't have to worry about, maybe feeling like they have to do too much, hopefully. But they also, it's just, I don't know. It's weird. Like I said, maybe Wizards will have a real structure. Like
Here's
maybe
hoping.
Yeah.
maybe they'll
Yep.
they'll actually, instead of paying people in promos,
Um,
they will maybe come up with a real structure where people are actually getting
Yeah.
paid
yeah, that would be
money, and
nice.
they
To
have
the
more
point,
people there. I
but
don't know.
yeah, Damien, to the point of your, your own moderator who's commenting on it, I do have a feeling the people who are the individuals who are currently Magic judges, I have
Yeah.
no doubt are going to have no problem finding work as Magic judges. That is a very unique set of skills, and even if the Judge Academy is no longer the entity that is, providing tournament structure support, whatever entity that is, or if every single judge is hired like freelance, which honestly sounds like chaos to me, but
Yeah.
like, if Wizards creates a judge department or something to handle all the logistics of that, then I have a feeling they're
Yeah.
going to be reaching out to the same people who currently have Judge Academy certifications.
Yeah, that's a really good
Right.
point too.
That's
I
what they
can't
were
imagine
saying.
that the
Yeah.
pool of talent changes because of this.
No. And
Yeah.
but the incentives change, and the prize, the reward, not prizes, the payment for their work, because it is hard work judging. Like,
Oh,
let's not kid
absolutely.
ourselves. I mean, I've played in so many tournaments, and I've seen ridiculous situations happen, and judges have to make snap decisions that are very, nuanced, and it's a very difficult thing to do. So we'll see what they do. I hope maybe they have an in-house thing. One thing I wanted to draw attention to, which I think is pretty great of the Judge Academy, is in the interim, until Wizards does announce what's going to be happening, the Judge Academy will continue offering training, testing, certification of judges until another entity comes in to fill that role. So that's sweet. At least they are, keeping it going. If they just went, okay, screw this then, and just dropped everything, that would be rough. Like, that would affect a lot of different tournaments and things like that. It would affect the player base. So the fact that they're like, you know what, even though we know this is over and that's it, after 2023 it'll be over, they are still, doing that. Sorry, Neo wants to say something in the background here. I
No worries.
apologize for that. He likes the judges, and he's on their side. So anyway, yeah,
100%.
hopefully they.
Yeah, I think all of
hopefully they
us are
get
on the judges'
compensated.
sides here. I'm just happy that,
Yeah.
like I said, like it's a shame because this is dissolving, but at the same time, like both of you are saying, like instead of getting paid in Magic products, maybe now everyone could get paid money. They can go to the LGS and
hoping.
say, "Listen, can I just like
Yeah.
be a regular
Oh
employee
boy.
now?" Right? Like
Well,
you can have like an extra.
I want to be
Like it
hopeful.
feels
I want
better.
to be
It feels
optimistic,
better.
but
Yeah,
oh
I know.
God,
I want to be
I don't
optimistic
know.
too, but I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that Wizards, with their hyper focus on earnings, like quarterly and whatnot, I can't imagine that they're going to end up with a more generous situation.
I'm
Unless
just
there was a whole
worried,
bunch
like
of,
about
unless there was a whole bunch
competitive
of bloat in
play,
their spending
organized
with this,
play.
but I can't imagine that was the case. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
I
organized
don't
play,
know.
I'm just really worried. I'm telling you, I don't know what's gonna happen with
Well,
it.
it is kind of
Is it-
awkward to see this big push to get people back into the local game stores and encourage, paper standard and trying to get this like organized play back on the table, which hasn't really been a priority up until, about a year or so ago. And they're really trying to drive that home. And then for this, to
I mean,
cut support for the current judge program, it's like, wait a minute. That doesn't.
Yeah, that's
that,
why
that doesn't jive. Yeah.
I think they have a plan. They must. There's
They
going to
must.
be a plan. We'll find out soon. But I just hope it's a good one. So,
Yeah,
fingers
right
crossed.
there with you, man. I definitely agree with that 100%.
Yep.
And on that note,
On
Yeah.
that
let's talk scientists.
Indeed. We do
Scientists,
have
you say?
Scientists,
in my
indeed.
trading card game. Yes.
So yes, we have all kinds of new wibbly wobbly, timey wimey action, and of course we're talking about Doctor Who. It's the new set coming out. It is a series of commander decks, and there will also be collector boosters available for Doctor Who. So it's not exactly a draft environment, unfortunately, because actually looking at the set, I think they could have done draft boosters, and I think it might have worked. I don't know. It would have been interesting, but in any event, we have pre-constructed commander decks as well as collector boosters and. Honestly, this set is just absolutely oozing with flavor. And if you guys if you've out there have been on any social media that has a strong Magic the Gathering presence, you've probably found out which one of your kind of mutuals are massive Whovians by who has been getting super excited in their feeds recently. I've been seeing it. I assume you guys have as well. It's the hot topic right now for sure.
Yeah, I don't know a ton about this set though. I mean, I'm looking at the spoilers now. I'm gonna just straight up be honest. This is the first time I've seen most of these. I saw a couple as they were kind of coming out, but I haven't. We talked about them a couple months ago, like when they first dropped. A couple spoilers, but I didn't realize there are so many mechanic abilities. There's timey-wimey. There's Team TARDIS. There's spoilers. There's like they all have their own peaceful coexistence, and they all have their own name. Time Lord's Prerogative, Look to the Stars, Paradox, Deal with the Black Guardian. They're all different? There's no unified like mechanic or anything in this set? It's just literally...
There are a couple of unified mechanics. What you're seeing there are those are flavor keywords, similar to what they did with like Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. So they did a lot of that. Most of those are standalone. They're their own thing. They do have a couple of other mechanics within the set, like time travel, for example, is set. You will see cards that just say, do this and then time travel. And what that means is you either add or remove a time counter from any number of, I believe it's any number of suspended cards or permanents with time counters on them. So it's similar to like Proliferate, but you have some more control over it. And it's only for time counters. So there's that. That's one, which is fine. I think it'll play okay. The number of suspend cards in this set and the number of cards that have time counters on them, incidentally, is through the roof. Frankly, they're kind of all over.
I think the number of cards named RMS Titanic are through the roof. We have Titanic on a okay.
We have Titanic.
Hear me out. What if I call Posty and I say I have a Titanic signed by Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet? Would you think he would buy it? We have a Titanic in Magic now. An actual... Is this the RMS Titanic? I don't know. Is this from the show?
It is from the show, yes.
The one that sank that he somehow turned into a spaceship?
It was in space. And for some reason, people were still surprised when it sank. Yeah.
Posty won't feel that bad about this one. He ain't going to be spending $2 million on it.
He's not. I mean, Leo's not what he used to be. Come on. He's no longer a Team Heartthrob.
I wouldn't be surprised. I can totally figure how that goes. Where I'm sure Posty was like, all right, that's cool, man. I'll give you like $20 and tickets to my next show.
Deal. Done.
Like, honestly, I'd take that. Yeah. But yeah, so the RMS Titanic. Honestly, the thing about the show is that it's like silly, campy sci-fi stuff, right? And they will take full-on, like, known stories or known tropes, historical events, and they'll just kind of add a little, like, posh British twist to it, and throw in some jokes, and off we go. And so, like, the RMS Titanic is kind of... It's a spaceship. It is the Titanic. I love the fact that it's a 7-1. I think that's brilliant. it's huge,
so
but it's fragile.
Yeah.
When the damage you play, you can sacrifice and create that many treasure tokens. It's a fun design.
There are some reprints here. I see Heroic Intervention. Yes. I see As Foretold. Are there any money reprints? Like, it's impossible to predict which of these, actual Doctor Who cards, not non-reprints, will be worth a lot, because I mean, I guess some are more powerful than others, but they're all so weird that I don't know what ends up being worth a bunch. Do you have any Hollywood? Maybe do you buy and sell so much? Do you have any ideas on?
I think that's just going to be another Lord of the Rings. I think that you're going to end up with. I think we're going to start to see a common trend with Universes Beyond, and that's the main characters are worth a good amount. Certain powerful cards are obviously worth a good amount. Like, we could compare it to, if we're going to compare it to Lord of the Rings, it's going to be like, okay, there's probably going to be a one ring type card,
Yeah.
and then
What's
there's
the
going
one
to be a
ring?
Bowmaster type card.
Okay, that's
Right
what I'm
now,
asking though. Which ones are those? Like, do you have any idea? Jump, what is anything jumping
right
out at you?
now, let's see. Yeah, right now I'm not really seeing. I myself, I looked over like a few cards. I'm not really seeing those
Yeah, I
cards
don't
yet,
know.
but I can tell you right now that I didn't think the One Ring was playable. I thought it was just a commander card.
Really?
I was
Oh
like, oh, I read
no,
it, and I was like, oh, this is just a commander card. And someone looked at me, and they were like, that's like modern playable, right? And I was like, nah, it costs 4 mana. It doesn't win the game.
yeah.
I was like, in
No,
modern, you need your 4 drop to win the game.
I
And
no,
mean,
that was one of the few.
yeah.
Bowmasters I thought was going to be good. I didn't know how insane it was going to be. Even like I thought it was going to be good, but I even somehow underrated that card. But One
Mhm.
Ring I knew was going to be insane. But some of those other cards, I'm surprised in Lord of the Rings that they didn't make more of a splash.
I
But
think there'll be
I think
something though. I think this set is
yeah, maybe
probably what I really like about Lord of the Rings and a set like this is that they're hitting design spaces that they wouldn't normally go after
yeah,
in
Yeah.
regular sets, right? They can do things here. The reason all these sets do so well is because it's just constant fan service. And
yeah.
they just
I
nail it.
know
Like this set
they do
just
nail it.
it
Yeah,
feels like it, right? It
isn't
feels like there's time
magic?
travel. It feels very like wizardy.
Yeah,
Like it feels
the
like
art.
scientific.
Yeah,
Like it feels like
Hmm.
it's really really cool. And I think that they hit the nail on the head again. I expect this to be another fantastic selling set. I expect it to just be another home
yeah.
run. And by the time this comes out next week, we'll be talking about a few cards that everybody hates.
It's
Maybe
possible.
I don't
It's
Yeah.
just
play
how it
enough Commander,
goes.
but there's a couple things like you're right. You're absolutely right. Like these fan service kind of sets and whatever secret layers and other stuff. By all accounts, like I don't have any Street Fighter 2 secret layer or any of the other ones, the Transformer ones, or I don't have a Warhammer 40k deck. But everybody I know who does have those things is very happy with them. They're all like,
Hmm.
this kicks ass. This is exactly what I wanted. Like I think it really just it shows how insane of a blank canvas Magic is. You can take literally any IP you want and you can turn it into a Magic set. I mean, I was telling you guys, I used to draft Booze Cube back in the day with Goofy made, and you can Google it. There's a full, it was made in some college dorm. Somebody put together a set of like planeswalkers like Jack Daniels and, Captain Morgan, and there's like characters from South Park in there, and it's Booze Touch creatures have. It's a big drinking game, but like
Nice.
you can my point is you can literally superimpose. You've seen the Star Wars one, right? Google Star Wars Cube. People have been working on it. The latest version 2.0 is apparently very well balanced and everything. It's literally a Star Wars cube made by fans for fans. And so Wizards is like, yeah, what the hell? I bet you that's like where a lot of the inspiration from Universes Beyond came from.
Yeah.
But they nail it. The canvas is so good. Magic, you can fit almost any concept, any IP into a Magic card and a set, a larger set. You've got lands and different types of spells, artifacts, creatures. Of course, there's the characters represented in creature form. All the intangible stuff can be represented with enchantments and sagas, and it's crazy. I love it. But the art looks
Hmm.
awesome, and the lands, man. Ham, you brought up the lands. I
Yes.
had no idea. Yeah, dude. What are,
Yeah.
what are the
They're
big
they're
expensive ones?
they're
Yeah.
reprinting a ton of the lands, including the set that I'm most excited to see here are the slow lands that were printed in our most recent trip to Innistrad. So, for example, I just pulled up Stormcarved Coast. For example,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is it's the red blue, enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more other lands, which is a threshold
Yeah.
that is very easy to cross, especially in formats like Commander. So these are very high demand. They're
Oh,
honestly just
yeah.
some of the best duels out there, in my opinion, if you're running, slower decks. Obviously, in competitive formats, those first
Well,
2 turns are very important, so they can be a little dicey. But in formats like Commander, where a lot of the time it's just like land pass for the first 2 turns anyway, even these coming in
yeah.
tapped is a pretty minimal cost,
I
So
mean, I'm looking at all the different cycles. They have all of them. There are
all of them.
tri-lands. There are the sack lands like Horizon Canopy, Fiery Islet. Those are
Mm-hmm.
the pricier ones. They have the garbage cycles like Foreboding Ruins, the ones that you need to reveal whatever they were called, the reveal lands. And there's even weird one-offs like River of Tears. Oh man, like I remember playing that in fairies and stuff way back in the day, like in this kind of stuff. There's the cycle lands from Amonkhet. There's the check lands from the core
Yeah,
sets.
this
There's
set
the
just looks like fire, right? Like
holy
they
crap,
have the reprints in
the
the set are
scry
great.
lands.
They really like
Yeah.
in all honesty, what I've noticed is that every time a new precon comes out, it's like the best precon of all time.
Oh
And
yeah,
it's like even more playable. Like we're getting to the
Mhm.
point where you could legit just buy a precon and you are probably going to win some games.
Yeah,
It's guaranteed now.
Yeah.
the precons out of the box are looking better than ever. I think it makes sense that this sequence of precons carries with it a ton of awesome lands. Additionally,
Yeah.
Doctor Who is all about traveling to crazy locations and
yeah.
points in time. So it's the opportunities to find cool scenery to put on lands. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Also, I don't even know the
Yeah.
in-universe depiction. Like, I don't know the episode where this took place in, but I do just need to give a huge shout out to the Celestial Colonnade art. I just think it's gorgeous.
Celestial Colonnade?
And Celestial
Let me see.
Colonnade got a reprint, everybody. Check it out.
Yeah,
Like,
sweet.
We'll
I
start
gotta
to love.
find it. Oh, you put it on the screen there. Yeah,
Yes, I
that's
sure did.
sweet.
Yeah, artwork by Nadia Huranova. I hope I pronounced that even remotely close. But yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. So good stuff.
To touch
Yeah,
on like
very
what
cool.
Damien said, something that I've been comparing Magic the Gathering to that a lot of people kind of notice is I compare it to Legos. If you notice, the thing about Legos that Legos goes after is like these huge IPs, right? It's like Harry Potter Legos, Indiana Jones Legos. Well, that's
Right.
no different than Magic making Jurassic Park and Ixalan.
Yeah.
I really think that that's what is helping Magic a lot. Is jumping. It makes me happy. I built like a 5-color Transformer deck the other day, and you're right, Damien. Like, you know what? Most of those cards suck, but you know what? I don't care because I get to play these
Because they're
cards that I've wanted to play
Transformers.
for
They're
so
Transformers.
long, and I
Yeah,
get to
I
do
hear
the
ya.
thing, and it's a
I
lot
gotta
of
be
fun.
honest.
And
I
was
know.
not sold.
I know.
I wasn't sold on the Transformers cards at all until I played a
Yeah.
game with my buddy Jolly St. Click, who had a Ratchet deck. It was a mono white deck around the card Ratchet. And he
Okay.
had it in a clear sleeve, and every single time it transformed, he went womp womp womp. And I was like, I'm in. That's all I needed. It was
sound
the
effect.
dumbest little gimmick, but it was like
Transform.
somehow that sold me on it.
Yeah, it's. I guess you know what. I'm a cranky old man sometimes when it comes to Magic. I really generally am very critical of Magic cards. For a card for me to say, "Wow, this is a really great card," it's very rare. And I know a lot of other Magic players are very excitable, more excitable than me. I don't know if it's just because I've played the game so long and I'm jaded or whatever, but I know people get excited about half the cards in a set every time a new set comes out, and I'm just
Yep.
like, really? Like the data should tell you that like less than 5% of these cards are ever going to see competitive play. I'm sorry to break that to you. I know you can't wait to build around all these goofy build-arounds every set.
yeah, but nobody
that's
cares
for
about
Commander
competitive
and
play,
stuff.
Damien.
But
This is
yeah.
Commander.
So,
Nobody cares
but listen,
about competitive
I'm
play.
getting to my
Come on.
point here. So I tend to be more of a curmudgeon when it comes to Magic, and because I am competitive, so I'm looking through a very critical eye at a lot of cards and stuff. But so I was very against Universes Beyond, and now, I mean, I'm seeing it, and it's getting to the point where it's full sets. It's not just secret layers and stuff. It's not just stuff that My Little Pony and stuff. When you can't even play those cards or whatever. Now it's like they're actual. Yeah, I'm gonna be sitting across the commander table and gonna play against your Transformers or this person's Doctor Who or that, Ian Malcolm, Chaotician.
Magic is
don't,
magic. Doesn't
don't
matter
know.
if it's Scooby Doo. It doesn't matter
It's
if
ridiculous,
it's Karn.
but it's
Magic
fine.
is
Yeah,
magic.
it's still magic. Yeah,
Yeah,
I realize.
magic
You
is
know
magic.
what? So be it.
It's
I embrace
Legos.
it.
You know what, Damien? You can build
Yeah.
your little Indiana Jones cave, and then you can run your X-wing through it, and like do all these cool
Hey.
things. And I think
Oh,
that's where
something
Magic's at.
I guess in my brain, like I want things to be orderly. Like I remember the way Magic was, and I love that look and that feel of Magic back when those early sets came out. I remember buying packs of the Dark and opening the set, and it was like. It was dark, like, and I don't mean in terms of the coloring and everything, but the art, and it was evil, and it was foreboding, and kind of like a lot of old dark ritual and these old icy manipulator, like they were like ominous, powerful cards. It inspired as a kid. It inspired this kind of the real. Ooh, this isn't Mickey Mouse crap anymore. This is like serious. This is a serious game. And of course, the complexity of the game also kept young kids out of it. It was not Pokemon, and I think Pokemon was eventually created to get little kids into it because it's much more friendly and colorful and bright and everything else. But it's just like Lorcana. Lorcana, by all accounts, is a good game, but there's almost no depth there. Nothing compared to Magic. I think it takes a lot for a game to be super competitive and everything. Anyway, I'm way off topic here, but I'm just saying I love the Universes Beyond stuff. It doesn't feel like the Magic I grew up with, and that's okay. I think it's fine. I always have those nostalgic. I love those old frames. I can look at those museum cards like you said. earlier Hollywood and go back there, but it is a different game now, and yeah, I
Oh
think
yeah.
it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. Anyway, so
Yeah, I
Doctor
mean
Who looks like a
it's
cool set.
cool. Like there's so much for everybody, right? Like I think
Yeah.
that it's happened over time that Magic's gotten so big that we have to have everything for everybody because so many different people want to play. On top of that, Wizards wants the game to keep growing. Well, how do you keep the game
Yeah.
growing? I don't know. Start going after, other essentially other fan bases. I mean, there's a secret lair that has the Evil Dead on it and no one's talking about it.
I know.
And
I love
I
that
just want
movie
you to
series.
know
Oh,
that there's people who have never played Magic that know Bruce Campbell, and
yeah.
now they're going to get into
Yeah.
it. There's people who Street Fighter fans. A
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
of almost everybody wants to play Magic. I think everyone forgets. Everyone in the world, a lot of people who have heard about Magic want to play. The problem
Yeah.
is that one thing hasn't come out that gets them to
That.
play.
Yeah.
And I can
Yeah.
guarantee you, between Lord of the Rings, Doctor Who, we have Bruce Campbell, Ash here on screen. I
Do you
guarantee you that
think?
there's so many people that as soon as they find out it's a Magic card, they say, "Oh, I've
Yeah.
wanted to play Magic for so long. Now here's my
Yeah.
chance
Yeah, I've been
to do
thinking
the
about
thing that
it.
I like."
Like, yeah, my friends were telling me it was great, but I never got into it. Maybe now's the time. Exactly.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you're right. I think it's funny when you look at the IP that they select, especially. It's 80s, it's 90s, it's old stuff. Doctor Who, Lord of the Rings, like this is old stuff. Or even like Transformers or Jurassic Park, I saw in the 90s. Like these are old IPs that touch on the nostalgia, keystone that's in a lot of not boomers, but like slightly what do we call it? It's just millennials. I don't know.
Yeah,
The
millennials. Yeah.
generation, my generation, like the 80s, 90s, grew up in Transformers. I wouldn't be surprised to get GI Joe. Well, no, they don't do GI Joe anymore, right? But I don't know what
I'm
other
sure
brands.
they
But
would.
like, it seems like a lot of this IP is old. I know they have newer stuff, but even like Street Fighter's been around since the
Well,
90s and 80s. Yeah.
and some of the ones that they've announced, like one of the big announcements that they're doing, I think I don't even think it's coming out next year. I think it might even be the year after. But Final Fantasy was one of the
Yeah.
big ones that
Right.
they announced. And
That's
like,
right.
I don't know about you guys, I grew up playing those. And
Yeah.
yeah, we're the
I think they're
It's a
they're
huge
really
IP.
targeting a
Huge
very
IP.
specific demographic though. They haven't done any IPs from like Walking Dead, I guess is what, 10 years old now, but that's one of the
well,
newer ones,
yeah.
but yeah.
Well, and they did
What?
they did Fortnite, they did Arcane.
Oh, they did
You know,
Fortnite. Okay,
but
right.
those were just reprints, and they just tossed
Oh,
them
Yeah,
around.
right.
reskins.
Those were
Yeah.
very quick, like reskin secret layer drops. They
That's
did not
right.
like the ones that are really getting a lot of the time and attention. To be fair, actually, The Walking Dead is a reskin.
What if those
layer
are
drop.
tests? We talked about tests.
Yeah.
What if they say,
Well,
okay, we're going to do some reskins of Fortnite? Okay, if that Secret Lair does great, well, can we make it a set?
and I wouldn't be
Okay,
surprised
if
if that
Evil
secret
Dead
layer
does
probably
good,
sold
well,
okay.
I want my
And
equipment chainsaw. I want to equip the chainsaw on
I wonder
another
if there's
creature
like
and
I
come
love
in
I
and
love
stuff.
Evil Dead 1, 2, and Army of Darkness, some of my favorite movies. But is there enough meat there to make a whole set?
That's another thing too. Maybe
There's
some
gonna
of
be
these
some
IPs don't
weird.
have enough. Like you're saying, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's got to be
there's not
deep
enough
enough, right?
Street Fighter to make a set. So Street
Yeah,
Fighter is
Street
a secret
Fighter.
layer.
but
So
they
it's,
could
yeah,
easily
yeah, yeah.
they could easily do like one precon that's Evil Dead. And they could sell
Yeah.
it. They could,
That's true,
find
yeah.
4 or 5
They would
different
do two.
IPs that could
They would
all
do
hold up
the
one precon,
Ash
Yeah.
and the Army of
release them all at
Darkness
once.
versus like the Army of Darkness or something. I don't
And
know.
they could, yeah, they could do a Forces of
interesting.
Evil, and then
So,
the people trying to be the survivor.
I
don't
mean,
know.
the sky's the
Yeah,
limit
yeah,
at this
yeah.
point. We
Yeah,
we have no
absolutely.
idea what's coming down the pipe. It could literally be anything. We could have something based off pop culture IP. It seems like they mostly choose IP that's old, and perhaps that's why it's old and kind of storied enough that there's enough there to work with that they can make a set. Like Doctor Who's got I don't know how many seasons, and but the Lord of the Rings is an epic series of
I
books,
could
and
see The
there's so
Simpsons.
much there. The Simpsons.
Simpsons
Oh
is
my
a-
Simpsons
god.
secret
that would
lair.
sell. Holy cow!
Don't give them any ideas, Hollywood. You stop it.
No,
I-
Wizards,
now
if you're
that's-
listening, Simpsons, make it happen.
It's
Get Fox on the phone.
yeah. Maybe
There's so many.
Oh,
Like there,
God.
and The Simpsons is deep. You can make a set with The Simpsons.
you probably could. It's
Okay,
magic. You
okay.
could. Yeah, absolutely. You could.
Important question, gentlemen. If
Yeah.
you had to pick a commander from The Simpsons, who would you who would
Oh.
you pick?
I'm
Okay,
picking
you
Bart.
go first, Hollywood.
I'm picking
Bart, really? What
Yeah,
colors
pick
would
Bart.
Bart be exactly? What do you think Bart would
Ooh,
be?
probably red, green,
Red
or
for
red,
sure.
red,
Red,
white.
100%. Yeah.
Red, white, maybe.
Yeah, red Naya.
Aggro,
Naya. I go with
Naya.
Naya.
Okay.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay. All right, I can see that.
How about
Interesting.
you, Ham?
Interesting. David, what do you got?
Oh,
I've
me.
got mine for the record. Yeah.
I was gonna say something like aggressive, like groundskeeper Willie. Like he's
Yes!
like a gruel aggro or something. I don't even know. But I don't know who
love
I
that.
was gonna say a control commander, somebody like
Mr. Burns.
Principal Skinner or oh yeah, Mr.
Oh,
Burns
yeah.
is like
Mr. Burns
Grixis
control.
right?
Yeah, Grixis
Oh, yeah.
control. Yeah.
Griggs' control, Mr. Burns. I love it.
Just Guy Smithers, partner.
Just guys. Yeah.
I
Smithers
love
is
that.
white green.
Nice.
All right, Ham, who you like? Who would
You
take?
know what? I'd have to go with Lisa. I
Lisa,
actually,
why?
yeah, I've always really liked Lisa. I'm a middle child. I played sax. What can I say?
Oh,
It's
nice.
just,
You play
I don't know.
sax. Cool.
I think she would definitely be blue. I don't know about.
Yes.
Azorius,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, Azorius
Azorius,
makes
I was
sense,
gonna
right?
say.
Yeah, blue, white.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
yeah.
would be Azorius for sure.
Yeah.
Isn't that messed up? Magic is that kind of template where you can literally this palette you can just paint over whatever you want. And it fits in a Magic card. You can even imagine the casting costs. You could make it make sense in the Magic universe, like how much things would cost. And
We could do a
effects, and
flip Bart where
crazy,
the other
man.
side of Bart is the superhero Bart. You can also
Yeah,
do
transform
flips.
cards.
You could
Man.
do
Yep.
flips where it's Halloween special. So you can
Oh,
have the
yeah,
front
just
side as
you could do all
normal and then
kind.
the back side's a
It's deep.
Halloween.
Oh my god.
But Damien, I love your point, and that's really it speaks to how deep and how well established Magic is. Like the color pie and the functions, the mechanics of the game, they all have their flavor identities so well established that we can do stuff like this, where we can and discuss it and debate whether or not it's correct.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I
love
think
that.
it's
really
fantastic.
cool.
We used to do this back in the day with that card. There were card making websites where you could make templates of whatever card you want. You know, we used to always goof around and make memes and like our old Facebook group, we'd post, think current events. We'd put, oh, it's Elon Musk here, the idiot. We'll put like a bunch of like to make him this guy's the guy's abilities and. Oh, we used to do this for everybody, right? Like political figures and pop culture.
I've got
figures,
one for you.
musicians.
For sure.
Yeah, it's
Back
crazy.
to the Future. You could almost make a Back to the
Sure.
Future set.
Yep,
Yeah,
that'd be
I'm sure
doable.
you could.
Yep.
There's vehicles. You'd
But,
have the DeLorean.
Again, we'll hope
Like,
they
there's
choose
so much.
good IPs. Yeah, because
So
you
many
could
good
do a lot of
IPs.
different ones, but I think they don't all work the same. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they do. But anyway, we'll see what comes down the pipe. Jurassic Park might be good, but do we have anything else to chit chat about today? I heard there's some.
We got some upcoming. We got some upcoming tournaments actually hosted over at the Pizza Box. So Hollywood, did you want to let the people know what they can expect to find on that front with some upcoming events?
Yeah. So this Sunday, the 8th, we're gonna have Explorer. Free to play, cash prizes, $100 to top 4. Pretty much first place $60. Another thing that if you win, you get to qualify for the Jankathon, which is our championship tournament. $2,500 going to be on the line plus more additional real life paper prizes as well. We have 2 more tournaments left before the Jankathon, so only 9 more people, or excuse me, we have 3 more tournaments before the Jankathon, so 10 more people will get in here. So we're going to see who can get in. And then Jankathon's going to be standard format. Standard, I know, gets a little bit of flack because it's a little stale, but I think that standard's pretty
fun.
wide open, and there's a lot of really good gameplay to be had. This Sunday is going to be Explorer, though. So those of you who like Pioneer, those of you who like more like non-rotating formats, Explorer is definitely for you. And we also haven't seen the impact that eldraine has had on Explorers. So going to be interesting this Sunday to see if there's any new cards, new decks. There's a lot of different pieces in the newest set that really make a lot of different decks better. There's also the Cauldron. We don't know if there's like a Cauldron deck out there that's going to be broken in Explorers. So I think there's a lot of different. I still think the Cauldron goes great with the cat. But I think that there's a lot of different options out there, and these tournaments are free to play.
Yep.
We put a lot
Why
of
not?
effort into it, between the stream, between the staffing, between players streaming the events in Discord. Like, everyone really makes it an amazing event and an amazing thing to be a part of. And I think that if you haven't played in it before and it's something that you want to do, I think it's a really great way to get into competitive Magic. And there's no better way than to sit at home on a Sunday afternoon and play some cards. You don't even have to go outside, and
I
most
mean,
of the time
Who
you got
wants
your
to
arena
go
cards.
outside?
outside?
Ugh,
Ugh, what
God.
would you exactly? Let's be honest.
Blech.
Sunday afternoon rolls around. What are you gonna be doing? You're probably gonna be booting up arena and playing some Magic, right? So why not? Just head
Yeah.
on over to the pizza
Well-
box, toss your hat in the ring, and even if you don't want to participate per se, if you don't want to commit to the whole afternoon, you can come check out a live broadcast, twitch.tv/HollywoodPizza, and there's a decent chance that you're going to see some combination of us and some other folks actually doing commentary on the event, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So definitely come
So-
check that out.
I just want to add for newer players, I know a lot of players have there's a bit of a barrier there when it comes to playing Magic against other people competitively. A lot of people enjoy Magic, but to take that step into the competitive pool is intimidating, and it can be nerve-wracking. I remember the first time I went to a big tournament. I mean, I was a kid when I went to the first comic book shop kind of tournament. My parents, standing at the back of the room or whatever. And I'm nervous, and I'm like this little kid. You eventually just fall into it, have fun. But this kind of tournament is perfect for players who want to try competing in a real Magic tournament, but they don't want to risk anything. They don't want to play against hardcore grinders who are going to crush them. I mean, you've got a pretty good level of competition in the tournaments.
There's
but
still
it's
some
a
hardcore
very
grinders
nice...
that will crush you though at these events.
Right, but it's not an MTGO, big event. It's not an RCQ. It's not an RC. It's not as intimidating as a lot of even maybe big store championships at some of the stores. But it's just the perfect kind of stepping stone to play competitively. And as somebody who bemoans the slow death of competitive Magic, I want more people to play competitively. It's not unfun. It's not a bunch of spikes who are, toxic and nobody's going to like say good game after it. It's like everybody loves the game. They all play, and some of the people I've met in those tournaments are just awesome players. They're super good natured. Nobody's trying to like angle shoot or be really, it's a great stepping stone into competitive. So if you're thinking about, getting into competitive Magic, the Hollywood Pizza tournaments are actually a great way to do it because again, it's free. So you're not putting anything on the line. A lot of people are playing off meta decks in those tournaments. Yes, there's a small group of there's not small, maybe a portion of the competitors are playing serious decks, but lots of people playing rogue decks, especially in the early rounds and stuff. And some of them get top 8. Like you can always spike a tournament.
Scott
with something
always
like
gets
that.
top 8 with some random jank.
He's pulled off some
Yeah,
stuff where
I don't know who that
you
is,
look
but-
at it and it's just how is this deck
Murloc?
6-1, and it's like I don't know, but it is.
It's sweet, yeah. So if you've ever
great.
thought about getting into a tournament, this is the perfect tournament to get into, where it's nice, shallow, lukewarm water. You're not jumping in, surfing in 50-foot waves in the tidal swell kind of thing. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, and
thanks,
we've had
man.
a lot of opportunities to meet up with some of the people who are kind of on the more like spiky competitive side, and I can say
Sure.
from personal experience, they're all lovely people. So even if
Sure.
they completely like take your rogue deck apart, they're gonna be cool about it, and
yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah. And if you
It's-
want to get
it's-
better,
it's
that's
a-
the kind of people you should be playing with
it's
and
great
against.
experience.
They're gonna make you better by they'll kick your ass maybe at first, but you come back, you learn from their what they're doing against you, and you beat them.
it's phenomenal.
Right? So,
Exactly. It's phenomenal
Yeah,
experience.
definitely.
It's honestly it's the best of both worlds, where the level of competition is really high, but it's also very welcoming and
Yeah.
easy going for new players too.
So don't be intimidated. Get involved, and
Yeah,
right.
it's lovely. I'm a big fan of what's going on. Over
yeah, they're good.
Yeah,
yeah.
it hits me every day. It kind of hits me still, where I realize like how vital the pizza box is, because like no one has consistent standard tournaments like this. We just had the World
Yeah,
Championship, and that's
sadly.
obviously what most people are going to base a lot of decks going forward around. But
Yeah.
week in, week out, we see the metagame shift. We see a lot of different decks top 8. Like I think last event 7 decks were different in the top 8. So I mean, it really speaks volumes. I mean, you have to win. You have to grind out through 7 rounds. Like if you can't, then you're not going to make it. So you have to think that their deck's really good, and the players who are playing are even better. So, it's really cool. It really means a lot to be like part of it every Sunday. And, if you want to get into competitive Magic, just like Damien's saying, which, his words really mean a lot to me, because we see a lot of new people come in. And, I do hear a lot of positive things all the time. And, I know deep down in my heart that I know that what I'm doing is something right. And it's really cool to be part of the community and to keep bringing it every Sunday, and to give people kind of like a a way where they can kind of like get an escape from the world and get to play some Magic with their friends, and that's just really cool to me.
Yeah, heck yeah,
Yeah,
man.
it's cool. Keep
All
it
right.
up.
But yeah, so with that, thank you everybody for joining us. It means a lot. We do appreciate you participating here on the podcast. Feel free to, if you're not already, following the show, or if you haven't already given it the 5-star review in your podcast app of choice, we would really appreciate that. And tell a friend, let people know that we're out here. We would help a ton. Also, if you have any questions that you would like to submit to the podcast or any topics that you'd like to see us cover, feel free to hop into our Discord and let us know. We actually have a channel devoted in the Discord, the MagicJank Discord, specifically for podcast questions. You can also tweet at us or post on X, whatever the kids are calling it, and just make sure to tag MagicJank with the hashtag JankMail, and then whatever you'd like to talk about, and we will check those and see them before we go live. So
I can't wait. Who's going to be our first jank mail? Could it be? It could be you,
Could be
dear
you.
listener. All you have to do is write and say something not toxic. It's really straightforward.
Yeah, exactly. If you can be cool about it.
Please.
Awesome. All right. Well, with that, we are going to go ahead and bid you all a very fond adieu. Before we go, gentlemen, where can people find you on the internet? What can they expect to see when they get there? Yeah. So Hollywood Pizza, let's start with you.
You can find me on twitch.tv/HollywoodPizza. I haven't been streaming as much lately, but I usually stream in the mornings around 6 a.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Sundays for the tournaments, 3 a month free to play. You can also find me on YouTube, PizzaBoxMTG. You can find me on Twitter at PizzaGoyf or at PizzaBoxMTG as well. Make a lot of different content. Sometimes I write on MagicJank.com, so try to stay a little bit busy. Right now, kind of just been enjoying my new homeowner life and married life, so I haven't really been able to get down on some content, but hosting the tournaments and stuff on the channel is still really, really awesome. So definitely come out on Sundays, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or sometimes, like I said, you can find me during the week at twitch.tv/HollywoodPizza.
Rock on. And
Cool.
Damien, how about you?
Same as always, Damien F16 on Twitch, Damien F16 on YouTube. You can pop into our Discord. We've got a bump in Discord, lots of stuff we're chatting about in there. I drop content on YouTube every single day, a variety of different games, indie games, big titles, everything basically. And then Monday to Friday on Twitch is just magic, 6 hours a day, just playing tournaments. We just did a charity stream this week. We're going to be doing a 24-hour stream next week. So if you want to get in on the craziness and pop on by Damien F16.
Awesome. And you can find me
That's it.
twitch.tv/hamhawks42. I'm over there Monday through Friday doing magic. I also am I have a solo channel here on the YouTube as well. If you're watching on YouTube, hamhawks42. I have that awkward 42 in there to make sure I can get that name at all the places. So yeah, make it nice and easy for you. So just Google it. You'll find me. Anyway, but yes, thank you everybody. We appreciate you. And we will definitely catch you on the next one. Bye everyone.
Bye.